Guys, thank you so much for being here tonight. I know that this is a topic that we've talked about a few times, but this is part of your power activities. I've kind of rechanged the terminology from what corporate uses, only because I think that, you know, your vitals or the activities that you should be doing during your power hour. I feel like everyone, and we've done a call on this, not everyone works the same way, meaning not everyone wants to do all the activities in one day. Maybe they have focused theme days, and not always is it going to take an hour. So I just feel like power activities kind of gives an emphasis on the work, on the foundational work that moves your business. No matter how you actually do them, as long as you're doing them consistently, right? There's no right or wrong as far as like if you're going to do, you know, a few of each per day, or if you're going to have theme days. Or sometimes some people, I'm not there, some people have theme weeks. So there's no right or wrong there. The only thing and I will say this again, is having consistency over time. But tonight, what we're going to really focus on is one of the power activities, and that is expanding your network or adding new friends. And before we even get to this topic, because you're not going to be able to necessarily be able to get to the invite process if you're not adding enough people to your network consistently and over time. Basically, the well will become dry, and we don't want to do that. Now, before I go into some of the steps, I want to just take a moment, and I want you guys to do a couple things. I want you guys to reflect on the last 2 months. It can be just really quick, and I want you to give yourself a quick 1-minute assessment of how you feel. And this is why I wish I could see the chat. How you feel you've done in adding new friends to your network. On a scale of 1 to 10. And for now, could you guys do this for me so I can just go back, or I can actually see it? And we're just going to have to kind of ghettoify this a little bit. No shame in that. Is on the reminder on our Facebook page for the team call. Go in there. I'm going to go into our team page right now. Under the team call topic post, and underneath that, I want you guys right now to comment on a scale of 1 to 10 where you feel you have been in the last 2 months. 1 being like 10 being hey, and then we'll go from there. We're going to pause here for about a minute, and I want, there's no judgment here and no shame. I don't want you guys to feel shameful or embarrassed. I've been there. And while you guys are thinking about it and you're making your comments, this would be a good opportunity so we don't drag this call out too much, since we did start a little late. I'm gonna share with you guys that I struggled with this as well. I struggled with meeting new people because on adding new friends. If you want to throw in inviting too, that's fine. But I struggled with this for a while because I felt that I didn't want to seem, truthfully, I didn't want to seem like a creepster. And I didn't want to seem like I had an ulterior motive. And maybe you guys are feeling the same way. Or maybe you go through kind of phases of that, depending on how you're feeling inside with your confidence. Okay, this is good. This is good. Joanna, 1.27. That's my favorite comment right there. Oh, on Facebook. Okay, 1.27. On Instagram is 7, which is fine. So that gives you a total average of 6. I'm just kidding. 5. No, these are good. These are good. So I just didn't want to seem like I'm a creepster. I think the other part for me was that because I do come from a more traditional marketing background, I always was kind of in the mindset of a little bit more of that attraction marketing. But until your business gets to a certain point, you can't just rely on attraction marketing. The two have to really work together. Actually, you start more with what we're going to be talking about today, kind of more that one-on-one. And then you can start kind of working on the two. And then you get to a point, doesn't matter how successful you are. You have heard this from even top coaches. And regardless whether you're a Beachbody coach or you're network marketing or you're a consultant for, you have your own practice, you have your own brick and mortar, this kind of one-on-one really never goes away. The grassroots, especially with social media and the way it's becoming, will never go away. So we can't fully rely on attraction marketing anyway. It just makes it a little bit easier. And tonight, and this is good, and tonight I love all of your answers. Tonight, I know some of you have, also included kind of your score on inviting. And if you haven't yet invited anyone, that is totally okay. Tonight, we're going to kind of talk about inviting, but tonight's primary focus is going to be about adding new people, because if you're not adding enough people, you're not going to have anyone to invite. You're going to dry out, and then you're going to get to a point where all you're doing is just kind of like, I use this example of the mama hen sitting on the eggs, right? And sitting on the same eggs for months at a time and waiting for those like eggs to hatch. And that's just not, first of all, that's uncomfortable for you. That's uncomfortable for the person. And it's just all kinds of awkward. And that thing that you were trying to avoid in the first place is kind of happening anyway, because of the fear of looking like a creepster, but you end up kind of being a creepster because you're trying to talk to the same people 20 million times. Does that make sense? So we're becoming kind of the thing that we're being fearful of by default. So who here watched that great video? It was really short with Will Smith about how bliss and success is on the other side of fear. I hope you all had a chance to just kind of watch that. In fact, Brendan Bouchard did a similar kind of presentation a little bit longer at Summit this past year. And it's so true. Oftentimes, the thing that we're really scared of isn't really scary, especially when we do it. And even more when we do it over and over and over again, because then it just becomes a habit. I asked, I don't know where I asked this, but I did ask at some point. I was trying to get the video back up. Here we go. I was trying to ask at one point, can you guys recall of a time that you were so scared of doing something? Maybe it was going back to school. Maybe it was asking for a promotion at work. Maybe it was having a conversation that was really uncomfortable with someone that you needed to air it out. Maybe it was jumping out of a plane like Will Smith did. Whatever it is. And then you went after you did it. How did you feel? How did you feel afterwards? And then did you do it again? Did that give you kind of more confidence? So this is kind of the same thing. So going back to me, and then we're going to get right into the tips. So going back to me and how I used to feel, the reason why I was feeling like I didn't want to be creeps was because I was so in my head about it. And the more I was in my head about it, the more actually, like I said, I was becoming the person I was trying not to be. So what will help with that, guys, is, I know you're going to probably roll your eyes at me, but is obviously personal development. And getting to a place, and this place will only happen in the doing, is getting to a place that when you're talking to someone, you really don't care where it goes. It could go to become something where you're helping someone with a challenge group, or it could literally just become some awesome person that you've met. Now, when you go into it like that, and you're genuinely just trying to be cool with people and trying to make friends. And I would hear this from other coaches, and I'm like, oh, that's BS. There's an agenda and they know it. Or maybe I have an agenda, or maybe I'm going to come across that way. Again, in your head. So again, the more you do it, let me ask you this. When you go to a party, or when you join like a group, like physically a group, and you like a meetup and you're meeting new people, is that strange for you to just start talking to someone? So I know online it may feel a little bit different, but guys, a lot of stuff is moving online anyway. So much is moving online. So when you have your personal development and you're going into it knowing you don't have an agenda, and you going into it, if it does evolve into something where you do invite and you do invite them, you know you're doing it in a good-hearted place. And then if you invite them and nothing comes from it, you've met a new friend, or maybe you never invite that person, or it takes a few months or a few years even to get to that point. Every situation, every person is going to be different. And in fact, I have met so many cool people that I actually can say that they are a friend. And I've never invited them, or I've invited them and the timing wasn't right for them. And I mean, to the point where we support each other online, and they have a different business or they're into something different. And I would have never met that person because they live on the West Coast. I would have never met them have I not met them online. So going with that, we have to make sure that this power activity is done consistently. Refer back to the team call from last month when we talked about how to basically structure your power activities that work for you. And then choose a style, stick with it for about a month, and then evaluate it. Don't bounce around from one or the other. Don't feel like you have to have it all figured out. Just choose one, decide and commit to a number, because otherwise you're going to keep pushing it off, and then decide, okay, every day I'm going to add 5 new friends, or every week I'm going to add 25 new friends. You just have one day where you focus on that. Whatever you decide, or maybe choose a different number, or whatever works for you, but keep it consistent. So one way to meet new people is the memory jogger. You guys have heard of this. There's so many tools in our online office regarding that. And the memory jogger is used across many different professions and many different industries. So it's not just with Beachbody, and it's not just with network marketing. It's done in traditional type of consulting and sales. And it's something that just kind of helps you think outside of the box. And never assume that people aren't interested in meeting you, and never assume that they're going to be offended in meeting you, or if they're going to be offended if you do get to the point of inviting them. Don't assume that, because you'll be pleasantly surprised when people are like, thank you so much. You know what? I've been actually meaning to talk to you about that. That's happened to me plenty of times. So the memory jogger is in the online office, and it's a great tool to just, sit down for 30 minutes and just use it and just go to town. All right. And that's going to help you think of people in different categories, online and in person. Don't necessarily feel like you have to do anything with it yet. Just write the list down, start talking with people, and then we can do a different training on forming. I'm going to give you a little insight on that. And obviously the new coach trainings really goes deep within that specific topic. All right, the next one is through social media contacts. So on Facebook, go through your list and then see through your friends list. Now, this is what I do. I used to just kind of this was the amateur in me. I would go and just try to kind of desperate. Like I gotta check off a list, and be choosy, guys. You're going to vibe with different people. Just like if you were at a house party, you're going to naturally gravitate towards one person a little bit more than another because of your energy and the way that you vibe with someone. Doesn't mean that they're a bad person, right? Same thing online. You're going to kind of get an idea from the person's photo, maybe what they're talking about. And so you can go through your friends. And then if you somehow are interlinked, don't just send spam to people, right? That's just creepy. That's what we're trying to avoid. And then just add them and be like, hey, I saw that we have a mutual friend. How do you know them? They're awesome. Or you can say, oh my gosh, We used to go to high school together. How have you been? Something simple like that. What's new? And then with Instagram, the same thing. If you, and this is a little bit more of a colder market, but if you have a friend or a connection on Instagram, right, you can basically look at their friends and then you can kind of sort it. You can kind of look through it and you can tell it's the same thing with the vibe. You can kind of tell who you're going to vibe with. Don't just start adding all these people just to add them, you know? And we don't spend too much time on it either, but you can just kind of scroll through it, the photo, what the bio says, and then put follow. And then usually I track them as a new friend when they follow me back. And then, so I said that with Facebook and IG. Also with Instagram, this is a really cool way to find new people is through hashtags. So a lot of the different interest categories that you have, don't look at like girl boss and all those kind of like different like industry lingos. I mean, you could probably get a lot of, some people outside of Beachbody with that, but it's so like oversaturated. You're probably going to get a lot of like coaches, or I don't know. I would avoid that one personally, but other ones that you have interest in. Maybe you like mud runs. Maybe you love dogs. Maybe you're into fashion. What if right now you're into knitting? I mean, different hashtags that are really about things that you're interested in. You can find some really cool people that way. All right, the other one, and I hope you guys are taking notes. This is number 4, and I should have probably said that. This is social media groups. So this is really a little bit more specific with Facebook, but again, this goes back to your interests. What kind of, now with the new coach about me form, it's all on Google Forms. And during that, I actually have you guys list out, or new coach list out their, top 10 interests outside of Beachbody. And these are the interests that you really want to focus on, because otherwise you're going to sound like every other Beachbody coach out there. So if you focus on your interests, right, you have your 10, then you try to narrow it down to about 3 to 5, and you join groups around that. So again, it's the same thing with the hashtags: dogs, knitting. Are you into cooking? Are you kind of like a fit foodie? Are you into fashion? Do you like, I don't know why this came to me, sailing? I don't know why. That's so random. Like, I don't sail. Maybe you're into, certain type of like cultural stuff, like the 60s, throwback stuff, whatever the case may be. I think you get the drift. And then when you're joining these groups, guys, it's not about like spamming the wall with like, join my challenge and I'm a Beachbody coach. No, it's literally about just, if you just created a recipe, share that recipe. If you recently knitted something, again, I don't know why I'm saying knitting. I don't knit, but maybe you knitted something, or I'm trying to get back a little bit into photography. So I joined, this is legit, I joined an amateur photography group. So what if you took a couple shots, you put it up there? I'm also part of a blog group. I asked a question about which photo did they like better for one that I was deciding for one of my blog posts, stuff like that. That's where you generate conversation and like-mindedness, and that's where relationships can start really building. And then 2 more, number 5 is referrals. So someone that you've been working with for a while that's gotten really good results, you can simply, Yashira, Gilmore Girls and Grey's Anatomy. Those are definitely some good interest topics right there. But referrals are a really good way to, that is a solid way to meet new people. And if you've had someone who's gotten really good success with a program, or a friend, someone who's giving you a really good compliment recently, you can say, hey, I'm actually looking to work with like-minded people, and I have this new group starting next month. Do you know of anyone who may or may not be interested? You've gotten such great results. The worst they can say is, I don't have anyone in mind. Or they'll say, I think I can think of a few people, or I have 2 people in mind for that. You're going to probably get a different answer from every person. And then last but not least is in person. I think it was Amy Silverman who has said to, I forgot what like the proximity is that she uses, but it's like it's not, maybe it's a 1 foot rule, maybe, or 3 foot rule, whatever is not too close for comfort for you. 1 foot, 3 foot, you choose. So basically her rule was if she was in close proximity, whatever that proximity is, to someone, it would be an opportunity to spark a conversation. Again, you're not being creepster. You're not like, hey, I love your hair. Do you want to join my challenge? No, it's a little bit more like, hey, I love your hair. I recently, you can't even really see it now. This little light is going away. This light doesn't really last too long. That's the only bad thing about it. I really love your hair. I just recently kind of did a blue ombre. Or you can say, oh, I see that you've gotten a lot of fresh fruit. I've been, really trying to buy a little bit more organic, and I've been going to the farmer's market. Do you ever go to the farmer's market? I don't know. Whatever the case may be, try to spark a little conversation when you're out and about in real life and not just behind the computer screen. Okay. So those are the 6 different ways. I'm going to recap that you can, find friends. And that is, I skipped one. So it's actually 5. The memory jogger, social media contacts, social media groups, referrals, and in person. Now, the first one that I had in my list here was, making consistent social media posts. And this is also very key. This is whether you're using Facebook more. Again, you want to have a main platform, and then you want to have kind of a supporting platform. Some people here are a little bit more Instagram heavy and Facebook a little lighter, and that's okay. Where me, I'm a little bit more heavier Facebook, a little lighter Instagram, and that works for me. Eventually, I want to get to the place where they're about even. But either way, you want to be consistent. Maybe your commitment is, I'm going to make 2 posts on Facebook every day and 1 on Instagram, or vice versa, or whatever numbers that you want. You guys have to be consistent about your posting, because that is also a great way to meet new people, especially on Instagram, because again, those hashtags, you can thank people for liking your post. I hope that you're using that private message feature. That really strikes up a conversation. And so we've had different, and we're going to wrap it up. We've had different trainings around this. But you want to make sure, again, just like the power activities, you want to give it 1 month with whatever system and numbers that you're going to choose. Same thing as with, I guess you can say, a social media posting schedule. So again, you don't have to know specifically what you're going to say, but for example, on Mondays, you're going to do you're going to, talk about, a lifestyle post, and that's going to be a little bit more about what's going on in your life. You can bring in an interest, and you can even kind of bring in a little bit of how coaching is helping with that in a very casual way. Maybe on Mondays, you also share an inspirational quote. Then on Tuesdays, it's Transformation Tuesday. Maybe you do some kind of like engagement post where you're asking someone feedback or, their opinion on something. You do a poll, and then so forth. And there's plenty in the online office that can help you kind of create that schedule. Commit to that. Maybe 2 a day is too much. Do 1 a day, but 1 a day is better with having an actual thoughtful of how you're going to do it, rather than random things and not doing it with intention. All right. And again, this is going to be on a later training, or I'm going to invite you to something. I know with a lot of newer coaches or coaches who haven't been as consistent, starting a conversation after you've added, because maybe we don't want to add new people because we're just afraid of what to do or say after we actually, connect with them. And we get nervous, especially as a new coach, right? And then because we're nervous, we either don't say anything and then they kind of disappear, or we say too much, because then we're like, I got to say everything. And it's like diarrhea at the mouth. We don't want to do that. So a simple strategy for now is to think of 3 things. A high connect, meaning, hey, thanks so much, thanks so much for connecting. You look like someone this is more kind of on Instagram. You look like someone I would vibe with. Tell me a little bit more about you. What do you do for work? What do you do for work? And what is a hobby that you love? I love to get to know you. I don't know, something very simple like that. Or if it's like a little bit more intimate on Facebook, thanks so much for connecting. I see we have a lot of mutual friends. Did you take, and this is for me, did you recently take one of my classes? You look familiar. Or for you, it could be like, how do you know so-and-so? They're awesome. Something like that. Compliment them. So that goes to my second one. So the first one is hello connects. You're thanking them for connecting with you. The second one is a compliment. You're genuinely just complimenting them on something, genuinely, right? Let's not be creepster. And then 3 is thank yous. So if someone liked or engaged with your post, you can literally say thank you so much for recently liking my Transformation Tuesday post. It doesn't only have to be about Transformation Tuesday's post. It could be something like, thank you so much for loving the recent photo of me completing my 20 millionth mud run. You know who I'm talking about here, for the year. That means a lot to me because I love these runs. How have you been? What's new? Something like that. So high connects, thank yous, compliment. And then obviously, the more you're having these type of conversations, the easier it will be to get to the place of inviting. But if you're not doing this part, who are you going to invite? You can't just continue going to your 3 best friends. You're going to run out of steam. Okay. So as I mentioned, there is plenty of training around how to build relationships. And this is, again, don't feel overwhelmed. This is just going to be a trial and error. I mentioned that our new coach mentorship has been revamped. In fact, because it's been revamped, there have been a few glitches, but I've ironed them out. But anytime there's a revamp and technology is involved, that's kind of what happens. But I really love the way that it's evolved. So if you're a brand new coach and you're not yet in that training, you need to be. And then number 2, if you have been around with us for a while, you just need a really good refresher, I invite you to enroll. If you want to do that, let me know on our team page and you can retake it. This has been revamped. Now, before we close, I just want to let you know that there are 3 phases in this training. So this makes it completely a little less stressful. So you can stop on day 10. So each phase is 10 days. The first one is more about the basics. The second phase reinforces the basics and kind of takes it up a level, right? But it's still more basics, right? But like part 2 of basics, I guess you can say. And then level 3 or phase 3 is a little bit more about if you're wanting to focus on building your team and having a little bit more of that residual income. So it isn't an email automation. So you're going to get an email a day once you enroll. To make it less stressful, this is what I recommend if you do choose to do this. Create a little subfolder. Every time you get an email, put it in there, right? Because you're going to get one every day for each phase. And then I would just commit to a timetable of, I'm going to do phase 1 and my deadline to complete it, because maybe it's going to take you a little bit more than 10 days. It's also December or almost December. I'm adding, I'm fast forwarding time. That's not good. So, just commit. Okay, instead of 10 days, I'm going to give myself 15 days to complete phase 1. And then after phase 1, then I'll see how I feel, because it is self-paced. Now, again, this is also dependent on your goals, and this is also dependent on creating some level of urgency, because you don't want to become complacent, and you do want to be challenged, and you do want to push out of your comfort zone. If you are thinking right now, I want more, right? You're not going to get more out of what you're doing now if you don't push yourself. So guys, this was the team call tonight about adding to your network. I hope it was helpful. I hope that tomorrow you're going to start putting these things into action. And if you're feeling a little uncomfortable initially, like I said, it's very normal. But then the more you do it, it's like riding a bike. The more you do it, the smoother it's going to be, the more the words are going to flow. But initially, to help you, like, blast some of your favorite music right before you do it, jump up and down, like, seriously, like, it really helps. Jump up and down, get in the zone, put a timer, like maybe do that for like a minute or two. And if you're doing this on your lunch break, go in the bathroom and do this so people don't think you're crazy. And then get in, focus, and put a timer on your phone and just knock it out in like 15, 20 minutes. And that is how you add new people. And I look forward to helping you guys in this area. And I hope some of you are going to recommit back to the new coach training. That way, especially for the new year, you guys are starting even stronger. Thank you again for your patience. And I will talk to you guys soon. Have a good night.